Hold on to your seats, my friends, because we're going on a sleigh ride to Santa's Elves Workshop. We're kicking off our Christmas holiday season. I'm so excited. Let the crafting begin. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. It's so good to see y'all and I am so glad that you are here because today we're kicking off all things Christmas. We're gonna get really creative this holiday season and make some super cool, very unique holiday Christmas decorations, and I can hardly wait to share all of my designs with y'all. In fact, I'm so excited. I'm just ready to dive in and do it all. But we're going to break this up into a couple of episodes because some of these projects are a little lengthy. So for today, we're going to work on a really cool gingerbread house, and I'm very excited about this. So let's get started. Okay, y'all, so I have here in my hand today's project. Now, remember last episode we worked on several fall, well, it's not several, we worked on two really cool fall pieces that Michael had 3D printed, and I warned y'all that more 3D stuff was coming your way. Well, I did not lie because we have this really cool 3D printed gingerbread house. Well, it's not a gingerbread house yet, but we're going to turn it into that. By the time we're done with this thing, it is going to be so cute and look exactly like a festive gingerbread house for the holiday decor. So this is the piece we're working on. We are going to do all kinds of really cool things to this piece to get it looking like a gingerbread house. Let's get started. It's really cute. Okay, y'all, so my first thought with this cute little thing, can y'all believe this is 3D printed? It just amazes me what 3D printers can do. It is so cute. It just turned out darling. And I love that Michael left open windows in it so that we can put some lights in here. I'm just so excited. Okay, anyway, so my first thought with this thing is to give it a fun shingled roof. Or roof, not roof, right? Oh goodness. Okay, anyway. So I had Michael, because I didn't want to sit and cut every individual shingle. So I had Michael 3D print me a cute little shingle cutter. It's like a cookie cutter, but we're going to use it to make shingles. And if you haven't guessed already, what do you think we're going to make these shingles out of? Yep. We're going to be using some air dry clay to make the shingles, because y'all know me and my air dry clay. I just love this stuff. So we're gonna get busy cutting out some shingles for the roof of our darling little gingerbread house. First thing I did here was roll out all of my clay, and y'all, I'm just gonna tell you the best tool for doing this is my magic rolling pin. I love this thing. It's got these little discs on the end so that you can change the sizes, and it rolls your dough or your clay totally even so that the whole thing is the same thickness all the way through. And I love this because all of my shingles are going to be the same thickness, which makes them look a lot more uniform and perfect. So great tool to have. I will try to list one very similar for y'all in the supply list. All right, so let's get these shingles cut out. And y'all, I had to cut out so many of these things. There were dozens and dozens and dozens of these shingles. It did help to have the little cutter that Michael made me, because rather than cutting every shingle individually, I was able to cut 3 at a time. So that did help. So I did want to just do a quick dry fit here to see how well it was going to fit the roof. It fits perfectly. So now I am just going to get to work cutting out dozens and dozens and dozens of shingles. to avoid my clay starting to dry out, I did only cut a few shingles at a time so that I could get them attached to the roof as quickly as possible, and then I cut more. And so that was sort of my process for doing this whole thing, is I just cut a few, applied them to the roof, and then cut a few more, or a dozen more. So to apply them to the roof, I played around with a couple of different techniques here and a couple of different ideas that I had. And in the end, the best idea I had was to wrap the shingles around the where the two roofs meet, where the vertical the vertical and the horizontal roof met. I decided to wrap those first and then work outwards towards the edges. So to attach the shingles to the roof of our gingerbread house, I am using this Titebond wood glue, and make sure that you get the kind in the green bottle because it is waterproof, and you really need your glue to be waterproof because the air dry clay has a lot of moisture in it. So if you use glue that is not waterproof, as the clay starts to set and harden, if the glue isn't waterproof, everything will just come undone. They'll just completely come unstuck once the clay hardened. I really hope that made sense. So now we are just going to start attaching all of these. So here is where I started to attach them, and then quickly realized this little method isn't going to work as well. So then I did change my mind, and I started wrapping them around the center where the two roofs met first and worked outward from there, and it worked beautifully. I got a nice clean finish on all of the shingles. So now it's just playtime because we are going to attach dozens of shingles to this roof. It took a lot to cover this entire house. You can see here where I changed my mind about the application of the shingles and wrapped them right here. I wrapped them around that groove first and worked outward, and it worked so much better. So I had applied a few rows of these shingles and then ended up taking them off, which was a little bit of a challenge because that glue sets kind of fast. But I got it done and changed and fixed my application, and I think it looks so much better. It looks so much cleaner that way. So now we're going to go ahead and do the last side of this, and this side was really easy to do. It was just very straightforward because it was a flat surface, so it was much easier. So here we go again, just applying shingle after shingle after shingle. The other thing to mention is you do want to stagger your shingles a little bit. So I would cut some shorter and apply it to the end and then work back and forth, staggering them so that they're not in a perfect row. They do look a little bit better staggered on the roof. So, all right, here we go again, just applying dozens and dozens and dozens of shingles. This is the shingle that I have been looking for, the very last one. The last shingle is on, and I do, something else I should have mentioned is as I was applying each of these shingles, I do kind of pat them in pretty good. I don't just lay them on there. I do pat them just to make sure that they're really well adhered to the house and that there's good contact between the shingle, the glue, and the house. So I did take some time to pat them on. All right, so the shingles are all on. Now we need to do something with these ridge caps. So my idea was to use my ribbon mold. This is an IOD ribbon mold, and I don't know if this mold is still available, but if I can find it, I'll definitely link it for you. If I can't find it though, I'll try to find something very similar. So I'm going to go ahead and use this mold to create the ridge caps, and to do this I just put a little tiny bit of cornstarch in the mold so that the clay doesn't stick and it will easily pull away from the mold once I have it all shaped. And then I just roll some clay out in my hands into kind of like a worm shape, and then just start tapping it into the mold. And I do like these IOD molds just for the main reason, well, they're beautiful molds, but I love that they have these little ridges on them, so it makes it really easy to scrape away all of the excess clay. So that's what I do here, is just mold the clay in and then scrape away all the excess clay, and then we'll have a gorgeous ridge cap. For me, demolding the clay is one of the most satisfying parts of this whole process. And look how beautiful it came out of the mold. That's why that cornstarch is pretty important. You just do want to be careful not to use too much cornstarch, just a little tiny bit, just enough to coat the mold so it easily comes out. So we've demolded our ridge cap, and I used sort of like this candy cane twist ribbon in the mold. There's so many beautiful ones in here, but I liked the candy cane twist. I thought it was fitting for our gingerbread house. So I cut it to size, and now I'm just going to attach it to the ridge exactly the same way as I did all the shingles, by applying a liberal amount of the wood glue and then placing it right over the ridge. And then I do take some time to kind of meld this into the rest of the shingles, just so that they blend really, really well together. Y'all, it took a hot minute to get all of those shingles attached to the top of our house, but we've got them all done. So now we're just at a place where we have to just sit and wait, just a hurry up and wait situation. So I'm just gonna let this sit aside for about 24 hours to give these shingles plenty of time to harden and set up, and then we'll get to work with all the pretty stuff. Alrighty guys, our darling little house is completely set up now, and it is ready for us to paint and do all the fun pretty touches to this. I cannot believe how heavy this thing got from adding all this clay to the top of it. It is so heavy now. It's a little top heavy, so I'm trying to be super careful with it, but didn't it turn out so cute? I did not get any cracks at all anywhere in the clay, except for right along this ridge line where I attached our cute little ribbon ridge across the top. It cracked a little bit, but that's mostly my fault because I didn't take the time to really meld the two together, meld this piece to the roof piece. So yeah, that's mostly my fault, but I think we can fix that with paint. So let's go paint our cute little gingerbread house and put all the final touches to it. The first thing that we need to do here is apply a coat of Mod Podge to our house. And the reason I do this is because our gingerbread house is 3D printed with plastic, and I like to just coat it really well with Mod Podge. This ensures that our paint is actually going to adhere really well to this plastic surface. So we will do this really quick and then let it completely dry before we move on to painting. now we get to do all the fun stuff and make our gingerbread house really, really pretty. So we're gonna paint, and the paint color that I chose here is Folk Art Coffee Bean. I really liked the deep, rich brown here. I just thought it looked the closest to gingerbread as I could possibly get. I have so many browns in my arsenal, but this one seemed to look the most gingerbready. So we're going with this color, and now we're just gonna paint, and this is a straightforward process. We just paint, we enjoy the process. There's always so much painting involved in all of our projects, but you know, one of these days I might surprise y'all and do a project that doesn't require painting. But for now, we're painting. The painting is done, and now we get to do some extra fun stuff. We're going to embellish our gingerbread house just a little bit. I thought it would be fun to add some greenery underneath the windows. So I just took one of my greenery picks and cut some small pieces off, and I'm just going to attach it to the birdhouse with using just some hot glue here. I just thought this would be so pretty to add just a little bit of greenery to, you know, like make it look like swags or pine boughs underneath the windows. I just thought this would be such a pretty touch. I didn't want to go overboard with the embellishing, so I do try to keep it very simple here. So we'll just go ahead and attach some greenery to each one of the windows, and then we might need to bling it up a little bit, but we'll get this attached first and see how it looks. Oh, I think the greenery is so pretty. It just added a really elegant touch to our gingerbread house. I do think it needs a tiny bit of bling though, so I'm going to add in some of these gold pit berries. This is a garland strand, and I found it at Hobby Lobby over in the wedding section of all places. And so I just cut a couple of the little berries off, and then I'm just going to put them right in the center of our swag in little groups of 3. How pretty. I just think this looks so pretty. I think the berries were a good touch. It really added a lot. So now we need to add some snow, and to add snow to this, I'm just using some puff paint. This is just pure white puff paint that I found at Hobby Lobby over in the paint section, and we're just going to add snow all over this. So I'm going to start with the chimney, and to do this, I just kind of do like a swirly motion. I don't want to just do straight lines. I want to have some movement to this. So we're just going to do some swirly motions all around the chimney. And then I want the snow to look, you know, like it's dripped down or fallen down. So we'll come back after I do these swirlies and then just kind of add a little bit of drippies down the side just to make it look like really nice fluffy snow that has settled on top of the chimney. All right, that looks pretty good. I like how well that turned out. So now we are going to add some snow to the windows and add a little bit to the greenery. So I started out here thinking that I wanted to settle the snow across the top. Well, that didn't work out so good. It doesn't look so good after I get it on there. It sort of looked like eyebrows on top of my gingerbread house. And I didn't like it because it did start to look too much like a face. As you can see here, it looks a little funny. It's almost like the birdhouse is scowling at us. So I put that on, and then y'all, yep, I came back and wiped it all off because it just did not look good. I mean, I sat with it for a minute and kind of moved on to adding some snow to the greenery. But the more I looked at it, the more I'm like, no, this just looks absolutely horrible. So I do come in and wipe it off. The trick with this puff paint, though, is you need to wipe it away really, really, really quickly. And I just used a damp paper towel to wipe it away. Yeah, see, that just looks horrible, just absolutely horrible. So let's wipe that away and start over here. So just use a damp paper towel to wipe it away and do it fairly quickly. And I did have to come back in and touch this up with some of our original brown paint, just a little bit, but that's okay. It worked out just fine. And then if you need to get into some of those smaller places, you can use a damp paintbrush to wipe some of that away. That also worked really, really well. So it's looking much better here now. So now I'm just going to go ahead and add the snow to the insides of the windows. Just in those corners. I think it makes it look a little bit more natural, and it doesn't look like a scowling gingerbread house anymore. Now I think we need to add some snow to the roof. So to do this, I'm just going to place a little bit of snow on every other row of shingles just to give it a natural look, because I still want those shingles to show through. So I'm going to apply this in that same squiggly motion that we did on the chimney. I love how the snow is looking. It is just making this look like an authentic gingerbread house. But I do feel like we need to add just a little bit more to this. So I am going to do some splatters all over this with some watered down white paint. I just think it's going to give our gingerbread house that frosted look, like we've just come in and coated the whole thing with a little bit of powdered sugar. So to do this, I just use watered down paint and then just use my finger to splatter it off the paintbrush, and I cover the whole house with this method. Well, we finished our cute little gingerbread house. I think it did turn out darling. I learned some things along the way. One, those shingles tried my patience a little bit. It was a bit time consuming getting all those shingles applied to the roof, but we got it done, and it was well worth all the time and the effort, because I think it just made the whole house. It's my favorite part. I love how they turned out. And then of course, waiting for all the layers of paint to dry takes some time. And the air dry clay, I did end up letting that set for about pretty close to 2 days, like a day and a half, just to make sure that it was fully set and fully hardened before I started painting. Because one thing I've learned with the air dry clay, if you start painting it before it's fully set, the moisture from your paint will just re-wet the air dry clay, and you'll kind of have a mushy mess on your hand. It's like trying to paint a marshmallow. So I highly recommend really letting that air dry clay completely set if you're going to recreate this. I think you could take this idea and this concept and apply it to so many of the fun gingerbread houses that we see in the craft stores. There's a lot of cute ceramic ones and wood ones at Hobby Lobby. I've seen some darling ones at Michael's. So you could just take those and have fun with it and do the same thing, do something very, very similar. So I hope y'all enjoyed this. You're gonna have to let me know what you think of the final outcome. I think it's so exciting to take just a plain old plastic piece that Michael 3D printed, and we turned it into a really spectacular home decor piece that I can hardly wait to style in my Christmas decor. So y'all, let me know what you think of today's project. Okay, y'all, so I did not show you the final looks of the finished piece styled because I don't have my Christmas up yet, but next week I'll be getting all the Christmas out and we'll do some fun decorating together. So y'all be sure, come back and see me again next week so we can Christmas decorate together. Until then, y'all take care and I will see you soon. Bye-bye, friends.